Welcome everybody to another episode of our comprehensive training series called SEP Knowledge Booster. For this video I have the pleasure to hand over to you today's presenter Klaus, who will talk about the next hot topic with the SEP Sesam backup software. 3, 2, 1, launch!
Yes, hi everybody. I'm really happy to talk about the next interesting topic today, talking about backup of cloud, of the hybrid cloud. And this is a very predominant topic from the media. Everybody has to consider the cloud. It's kind of pushing to everybody in the IT infrastructure. And very often when I'm out there as a pre-sales, customers are asking, can you do cloud backup? And the answer is not yes or no. The answer is, what would you like to do? Would you like to put a copy of your data into the cloud, or would you like to run in the cloud and then put some data on premise, or would you like to completely run in the cloud and do your backup in the cloud, or go from one cloud to the next cloud and migrate some data? So you see that there are lots of different configurations and perspectives regarding the cloud. And in this session, I will talk about the transition from on-premise to cloud backup, which is really a kind of a long infrastructure journey. Yeah, this is kind of a picture, I guess everybody of you has already seen somewhere, because it's pretty common and familiar out there at the market, and it shows the different levels of cloud concept. And it all started in the past with on-premise. Everybody has got its own hardware, server, storage, networking, and so on, and the total stack up to the applications. And in the first step, you can use the hardware of someone else, from a provider, from a cloud provider, but you still have to take care of, from the operating system, the complete stack to the applications. And in the next step, you have platform as a service, PaaS, which means that the provider also takes care of the operating system, which helps in terms of updating the operating system, installing patches, firmware, middleware, and so on. And you only have to take care of the applications and the application's data. And in the last step, you use specific services, software services. The famous example is definitely Office 365, where you get everything from Microsoft, including the application and the data. Everything is hosted by Microsoft. I think that's the most important example out there. But there is another kind of dimension of cloud, and this is if you start from on-premise, that you set up some sort of private cloud in your enterprise, because some departments act like a cloud provider in the enterprise. And then you can go out to the public cloud and use Microsoft Azure or AWS to help out with resources and services and so on. You can have a hybrid cloud, that you have some sort of local cloud for your most important data, and you use some public clouds for not so important data, or data which is public anyway. So this is an example, and the future, and it starts already today, is that you have multi-cloud environments, that you don't want to be locked in or depending on just one cloud provider. You use several cloud providers, then you have the problem to migrate between clouds and so on. And this all has to be considered and covered by the applications you use. Yeah, if we talk about SEP, in the past, we were talking about on-premise backup infrastructure in your data center. You might have seen this picture already with the backup server being on premise, no matter if it's Windows or Linux, have access to the media which is on premise, any kind of storage, DDoP storage, tape, and so on. And you have the remote device servers collecting data from the clients and write it to any kind of shared or separate media. We have branch offices replicating data, source side deduplication to the data center that's possible, or replicating data and having everything in the branch office. However, at some point you consider including the cloud somehow, and we will have the cloud. And now the problem is how to include the cloud into these existing backup concepts. And the most and easy way for AWS, for instance, is to introduce a little storage gateway. So the backup server can write to some sort of VTL. For us, it's a real library. However, in the background, the data will be transmitted to AWS via the S3 interface. And the problem with this concept is that the backup server does not have any knowledge about the data which will be transmitted to the cloud. For the backup server, everything is local here in the VTL, and that there is data in the cloud, it's completely not visible to the backup server. So we need different concepts to include the backup server into this concept. And for a cloud concept, because the cloud normally is attached via some sort of WAN interface, low bandwidth connections, you definitely need deduplication in any way. So the deduplication possibilities you have in SEP is first of all our integrated our own software deduplication, the SI3 deduplication. Some of you might already use it locally, and it's definitely an efficient deduplication. It's inline in memory before writing the data to the disk storage based on variable block length, therefore a very good dedup ratio. It's a global deduplication, so if you back up one Windows 10 server and back up the next one from the next branch office to the same SI3 deduplication storage, then the blocks are already there, and no additional blocks will be transferred and saved on the disk storage, because it's really global deduplication. We have three options for deduplication. That's the target side deduplication, where everything is deduplicated inline in memory before writing to the disk storage. We have the source side deduplication, where the deduplication will take place on the client. And we have the replication, which is transferring the data in deduplicated form, and this helps to reduce the amount of data you have to transport over the wire. You can replicate over WAN interface, and that's the important functionality we need for our cloud integration. The other possibility is using some sort of deduplication hardware. And as you might know, we have integrated the HPE Store 1s in our software via the Catalyst interface. Of course, the store ones can be attached via LAN as an NFS data store, or as VTL as a library over fiber channel. But what we need here is the Catalyst integration. This is fully HPE certified. You can find it in the HPE support matrix. And this is also a global deduplication. Whatever data you write to the store once via the Catalyst, if it's already there, no blocks are transferred. And some matching functionalities. The target side dedup from our SI3 deduplication is the Catalyst backup and recovery, writing via Catalyst to the store once and retrieve the data from there. The source side dedup is known as Catalyst bandwidth optimized, and this is also available in our software. And the replication is called Catalyst copy, but it's some sort of similar functionality, replicating the data to somewhere else. Now, where comes the cloud in the game? on our software side, we have a possibility to do a replication to S3, and I will show you in the live demonstration later on how this can be configured in our software. And for this S3 replication, you need a local SI3 DDAP storage to transfer the deduplicated data to S3. Yeah, and it's implemented very cost efficient because we have very few write and retrieve commands. We use the API because sometimes, depending on which cloud you replicate to, they charge you per per put command and per get command. So we have really reduced these API commands. Yeah, it needs some local storage to replicate to S3 because it's only a replication. It's automatic disaster recovery. If the local SI3 is not available, the data will be retrieved from AWS and will set up the local storage and then restore automatically from the local storage. It's done in the background. You don't have to care about it because you can also have different retention policies for your local storage, and the replicated data in the cloud can have a different or maybe a longer retention. Then it very often happens that the local data is deleted because of the retention time has expired, and then the data from the cloud will be retrieved to the local storage, and then you can restore from there. Yeah, and this also works because it's a standardized S3 interface, not only for the public cloud like AWS, it also works for any kind of local object storage, maybe some SUSE enterprise storage based on Ceph, which has a S3 interface, and you can use such kind of local object storage as an archive storage maybe. That's also possible. Yeah, how does it look on the appliance side? With the HPE Store Once Catalyst, we have the Cloud Bank storage functionality. This is based definitely on a Store Once hardware or VSA. It's also available as a virtual appliance. And this has a replication functionality to S3, directly to Azure, into the blob storage, and for scality. Yeah, it needs a local Store Once appliance, VSA or physical, and if the data is replicated to the cloud, you can restore to any other Store Once, can set up a new Store Once in another location and restore from the cloud, and it's fairly easy configuration in SEP, and it also can have different retention times. So there are a lot of similarities between our own deduplication and hardware-based deduplication and replication to the cloud. We also have the possibility to work with our partners, some MSPs, managed service providers, who act like a cloud provider, and you can replicate data to the MSP. That's also possible because they have some SEP remote device server or backup server available where you can attach to and then replicate the data in deduplicated format to their storage and the infrastructure of the MSP. That's also an example how you can put a copy of your data maybe to some external provider. It must not be AWS or Azure. There are other possibilities as well. But it's all based on deduplication. There are different infrastructure options for an MSP environment. You can have the backup server at the MSP and RDS at the customers, or vice versa. Or you can have a dedicated backup server for each customer, depending on the security level you would like to set up, and the MSP provides, and definitely it creates a little bit more cost if you have a dedicated backup server for you, or if you share the backup server and the metadata with other customers. Yeah, requirements for this kind of environment, definitely the deduplication. You need a VPN connection. We have the multi-tenancy functionality. That's also important because we need to make sure in case of a restore, we have the self-service restore assistant, the web UI, that customer A can log in into this web UI and can do a restore only of its own data, and the customer B has only access to its own data. So we need the multi-tenancy, which means the authentication as well as the authorization functionality. Both is necessary, that you have your credentials and that you have the permissions only to have access to your own data. And then we have a specific license model for the MSPs. Now, if you go to the next level and you have everything in the public cloud, not only using the cloud as a one copy of your data somewhere for archiving or disaster recovery, you might have your complete environment in the cloud. If you use IaaS, infrastructure as a service, no matter which one, you can run also your backup server in the cloud and have access to the application which is installed in the cloud. So your complete infrastructure, you have no local infrastructure, no data center, and in this example, we cannot write directly to S3. However, this is subject to our roadmap. We are working on it. Today, you have to use maybe EBS and set up a SI3 data store on EBS to reduce the amount of data, which helps to save storage, and so it helps to save costs. And we have a customer references using this example. It's the Centro Medico Sant'Agostina, a medical center in Italy, all over Italy. They have a pretty interesting concept, always be a side of a supermarket. So if someone goes to the supermarket, the wife goes to the supermarket, and the husband can go to the medical center and have some examination or whatever, and they have all their data in AWS, running HANA in AWS, running the backup server in AWS, and have a SI3 data store on EBS. So this is a very valuable concept. It works. It has proved in several customer references. Yeah, and therefore we have already created a YouTube video to show how to set up an SI3 data store on an AWS EBS storage. And that's something you can see in this video. And here is the link. It's about 20 minutes describing exactly how to set up the EBS and how to set up the SI3 data store there. This helps if you would like to set up such a concept. Yeah, with Azure, it's pretty similar. If you run your complete infrastructure in Azure, the SAP backup infrastructure, the storage application, as we cannot write directly to blob storage yet, you have different possibilities. You can use the managed disk of Azure. You can use a NetApp on Azure. There's a template of a NetApp disk storage in Azure. You can this one as a backup target, or there's also an HPE Store Once VSA available, and you can write via Catalyst to this HPE Store Once template available in Azure. So there are different possibilities which can be used as a backup target if you run completely in Azure. And we also have reference customers for this configuration as well. So both options work pretty well. Yeah, and the latest step is that also the application runs in the cloud and you only use a cloud service completely, like Office 365 or Microsoft Dynamics or Google G Suite or Salesforce. And for all these cloud applications, cloud services, we have a solution in our portfolio with a very easy web portal, monthly billing. You don't need any storage because it's a cloud to cloud backup. We extract the data from the Microsoft cloud or from the Google cloud, from the Salesforce cloud, and put it in a separate data center where the data is safely stored and replicated and high availability secured. Yeah, you pay as you use with a monthly billing based on licensed users. That's the normal model for these kind of applications. So you can grow and shrink, and it's all pay as you use. We have unlimited retention with this kind of backup. There are multiple snapshots per days for the backup, and very granular role and permission configuration. Object previewer, that's really cute and nice that you can see if you need to restore a file, you can make sure that it's the correct file before restoring it, before you have a little preview. And I will show you a little bit of this in a live demonstration. And these are the detailed functionalities of each of this solution for each of the service. And just for completeness, I will show you all this here on this slide, so that later on you can have a look at it to find out that it's not only Exchange or not only SharePoint, it's also OneDrive, it's also Teams, and also the conversations and files. That's very important, because just think of the current situation with the coronavirus. A lot of companies have introduced Teams now and are doing Teams sessions, and a lot of valuable information is now included in the Teams conversation, no longer in the emails. The emails are still backed up, that's not the problem, but now the information, the important information, is in the Teams conversation, and you need to back up the Teams conversations as well. It's more and more important for the companies. Yeah, now I think it's time for a live demonstration of this functionality, and for this I have already opened our graphical user interface. Should be familiar to most of you. And first of all, I would like to show you the configuration permission management. And here you can create the users, and you see a user has a password. You can log in with this. You have a role, and here are the available groups with specific permissions. And here in the activation slide, you see that SEP sesam authentication is turned on. And you have several possibilities for the authentication. You can use the sesam authentication, then all the users are stored in our local database, in the sesam database. Or you can use LDAP or Active Directory to match with these users, and then insert the Active Directory groups and users and permissions and use them as credentials to log in also to SEP. Yeah, so all are possible. You can also have several Active Directories or several LDAP or Open LDAP. That's also possible, and match with these directories. That's possible. Or you can deactivate the authentication, of course, yes. Okay, and if we click on the topology, you know that here you have all the computers you would like to back up. The physical computers are all there, and you can set the permissions, so which user can have access to these hosts. And the entry point to the permission is always the location over here. And if we do a right click on the location properties, you can see we have the permission tab over here, and here you see these are the group names we have, the default group names, and the access is denied. There's a blacklist, there's a whitelist. So this is the default action and permission, and you can will be inherited down to all the hosts underneath this location, and you can have different entries for specific hosts. So maybe there's a branch office somewhere and you set the permissions for this branch office and there is one computer of the CEO which you would like to restrict more so that no one has access to this computer. Then you can set the properties and the permissions. You see everything is inherited from the location, but you can edit and give specific permissions and users to this host. It's pretty similar, this concept, how permission management works on Windows, I would say. So could be familiar to lots of you. Yeah, then I would like to show you the data stores. If we click on the data stores, here you see this is a data store path data store for saving the data natively without any deduplication. If you need deduplication, you set up a SI3 deduplication store like this one. And you also have the possibility a NetApp snapshot based storage snapshot based data store, or using the store once here. So if you set a new data store, yeah, then you can select where this storage is attached to. Just select an RDS, maybe this one, and then create a data store. And here you have the options, the SI3 deduplication data store. And then you see that this tab has popped up now. And here you can enter your bucket credentials for AWS, for instance, and then the data will be replicated via S3 to the cloud and set a copy into the cloud. Yeah, and if you have the store once, here you have to set the store once, set it as a data store to use it via the catalyst. The name should be identical to the data store you have created in the HPE Store Once console, because in the HPE console you have to configure data stores, and then you need to provide the credentials so that SEP can access this data store on the Store Once. And exactly the same identifier and password you have set and configured in the console, you have to provide over here. Yeah. And if you would like to replicate to the cloud with the HPE Store Once, then you have to set up a Cloud Bank storage data store. And before doing that, you have to go to the HPE Store Once console, configure a Cloud Bank storage over there, and then you have to configure the data store here, provide the credentials for the Catalyst access to this Cloud Bank storage. And then you can replicate the data from one data store to this Cloud Bank store data store, set up a replication task, just as you are used to set a replication task. And this is for Catalyst copy. You know that this is always based on media pools, from one media pool to another media pool. And if you set up a new replication task, you can choose the media pool for the local Store Once, and then choose the media pool for the Cloud Bank storage, and then the data will be replicated to the cloud. Yeah, that's how it works with the Cloud Bank storage if you configure it in our software. Yeah, and if you use our web UI, we have a link here to our web UI, and now it uses the same credentials as I have used for the GUI, and I've logged in as an administrator, and therefore you can see everything we have permissions to see. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that you see everything where we have backups available. So if there would be no Hyper-V backups available for restore, then this box would not be visible. And as we have a demo environment, we have lots of hypervisors, as you can see here, and backups available for restore from all these hypervisors. That's why they are visible over here. But you could easily log out and enter with another credential, and then you would only see what is accessible, what this new login has permission to see. Yeah, so that's what MSPs would use for their customers. Every customer has its own login, and they can see only their own data for restore. Let's have a little look at the cloud application protection. And here the login, I have to log in again. Hold on a second. So now I'm in this web portal, and we have created some connectors for Office 365 backup, and you have some generic information over here. If we could have a look at the audit reports, maybe here you see exactly when, who has done and changed something, and you can download this as a CSV file, and this is completely audit proof. You have several filter possibilities and areas, connectors, backup, restore, whatever you would like to filter, or filter by users, so you can create several audit logs. Let's go back in time a little bit more, refresh. Okay, I have changed, I think, the backup and restore log. So, okay, some backup and restore has been scheduled at this time. You see the log file is created over here, and then you can download it. Yeah, the actions, denied, allowed, some filter possibilities over here. You can look at the job monitor. Here there was a backup, this was a backup, and also you have some filters over here, and can see what is scheduled for restore or for backup. Here is the user administration. There are some users over here, and you can create new users. Create a new user, and then you have all the possibilities to set the role, which kind of role, only standard or audit or master or backup, and then you can really granular grant permissions for this user, and create this user. I think this is a very powerful functionality over here. Yeah, and we have the user settings over here for this user. And well, if you go back to the connectors, let's go down into the Office 365 configuration. We have the users, SharePoint, groups and teams. Yeah, if we go down to groups and teams, you see there are several users, and they all have their conversations, their SharePoint files. Yeah, the files you see over here, if there are files in their team connections. Or we can go to the users and have a look at the mails. Yeah, then you have to select one of the users. We have a demo user over here, and now this is the mailbox of the demo user. He has a OneDrive section attached to him. If you go to the OneDrive, you see the templates, the style library, the documents over here. This is what he has in his OneDrive section, and if this file should be restored, you see this little preview if this is the right file. Yeah, you can see it. The backup concept over here, that's this preview of this doc file, this one, and this one before restoring it, you can see. And then you have the possibility to see the versions available. So not every day it will do a backup, only if something has changed. That's why you see this list of versions available in the back in the history. Yeah, or you can do the restore, and then yes, doing a restore, and this will be scheduled, and then until we get the next slot of Microsoft in the next few minutes, the restore will be done of this file. You can see in the job monitor that this restore is scheduled, and you will see when it has finished successfully in the job monitor. Now, if we go back to this demo user and look at Outlook, and here you see all his mailboxes, the inbox, deleted items, and at any level you can do a download of this. Yeah? Click on the download here, and you see there is a zip file downloaded for the inbox. You can also download the inbox as a PST file. That's also possible. But you can download single files or complete mailboxes or complete users or complete connectors. At any level you can download the data, or you can create a shared link, because sometimes the user knows best which kind of data he would like to restore, and then you can provide a public link, password protected, and send it to a user, and then he can have access to this link, to this shared link, and restore from there whatever he would like to restore. Yeah, if we go down to inbox, you see here there are 2 mails in the inbox, and you can restore single mail, or you can download the mail, or you can also create a shared link. So it's a very powerful web portal. You don't need any local storage. Just configure your admin account of Office 365, and then the backup starts. The first snapshot will be done, and you can restore soon. Well, that's all. I think it's very easy to manage and to handle product for cloud application protection. Yeah, I hope you have enjoyed the live demonstration, and so some additional functionality for experts. Did you know that we have a dedicated business model for managed service providers? So this includes specific price models based on units or based on terabytes, whatever you like more. And this price model, this business model, is based on a monthly charging. So also your terabytes or your units can grow or shrink from month to month. So it's a pay-as-you-use model. And we have specific MSP concepts and also references, customer references for MSPs. So I think that MSP, with its broad and future-proof support matrix, it helps definitely the MSPs with this perfect solution to be future-proof for their customers as well. So Katrin, are you ready to take over?
Yes, of course. Hey, are you impressed of what you have heard until now? Then you might be interested in gaining more information about this powerful backup software. After our SEP specialist has talked a lot about a specific backup topic, during the next roundabout 4 minutes, I would like to give you a short overview of the general capabilities of SEP Sesam. I'm sure you will be impressed of what is really possible with this product. This is essentially based on 6 strategic columns. The first and most important topic is our huge support matrix. There is an agent available for almost every operating system, database, or application you can imagine. Market leaders as well as niche products, for example for mailing, Exchange or Copano. Even a lot of older versions are supported, because all old SEP clients are still compatible and usable with the latest SEP backup server, for example NetWare, or outdated Windows versions. The second strategic focus is our strong partnership with SAP. While being 2 German companies, we work together from SMB to enterprise, from Business One to S/4HANA. SAP has the most complete set of certified agents for the SAP portfolio, including NetWeaver running on Oracle or MaxDB, Linux or Windows, HANA or ASE, known as Sybase. Moreover, SAP not only supports simple HANA backup via the backend interface, but also functionalities like multi-tenancy, housekeeping, scale up, scale out, HANA Studio integration, disaster recovery, and efficient performance by parallel HANA backend channels for backup and recovery. Third, we focus on our partnership with HPE. Besides the perfect fit with our SAP partnership, this means that we step by step integrate deeper into the HPE portfolio. We just released our HPE certified Catalyst integration, including Catalyst Copy and Cloud Bank Storage. More to come soon. As a fourth element, we are proud of our multi-hypervisor support. By supporting more than 8 hypervisors, we are a perfect fit into every virtual environment beyond VMware and Hyper-V, or in every multi-hypervisor infrastructure. Based on our Unix and Linux history, we have a strong focus on open source. This becomes apparent from our partnerships with Red Hat and SUSE, but also from the support metrics, where you can find agents for open source products like KVM, MariaDB, or Postgres. Last but not least, we see the market going cloud. With our Cloud Application Protection Service products, we help you to back up your Office 365, G Suite, Salesforce, or Microsoft Dynamics environment. With Office 365, we back up the full set of features like Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, public folders, and Teams. With SEP Sesam, it is possible to run completely in AWS, replicate to a public cloud via S3, or simply use Catalyst Cloud Bank Storage and let HPE Store Once do the replication work. All these topics are covered in separate videos. Therefore, we can proudly state that SEP Sesam is the most powerful backup software. Well, if you are now interested in knowing more about SEP, you can find detailed information about market, sales, product and company on our webpage. Profound technical information can be found in our large wiki online documentation. If there are any questions left, please do not hesitate to contact us via email to sales@sepsoftware.com. So, I'm pretty sure that I'll see you next time when you're back on Tube to boost your SEP knowledge again.